What an incredible thing God had done in my life, just giving me a new heart and a new relationship with Him. And in His sovereignty, He brought people around me who loved Him just as much and helped me see not church and religion, but to see a relationship with Jesus and what that was like. Some friends of mine from high school had kind of gone through the same experience. And so I had opportunities to begin growing in that new relationship with the Lord. Continued on in school and playing ball. The next season I tore up my other knee. So my football career was kind of done at that moment. I'd gotten real involved in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes at Georgia Tech, and that kind of connected me to a way to be involved in ministry. And as I looked at what God might want me to do, an opportunity came open to lead backpacking trips at a camp in North Carolina, a Young Life camp. And I had heard about Young Life, but had never been real involved with that. So I went that next summer and led backpacking trips and grew tremendously in my relationship with the Lord and learned a lot about taking the moment that I have with people. I'd have a week with those people who were on that trip and just enjoying that moment and invest in my life and their lives and allowing them to invest in me. And maybe only see them for a week. Most of those kids I've never seen again, but what a great opportunity to touch their lives. And then as I came back from that summer, got involved as a volunteer leader in Atlanta with Young Life and began understanding that ministry of building relationships with kids and ministering to them where they are and being involved in their lives and basically being Jesus with skin on in front of them and helping them see that same thing, that they don't have to allow the pressures of the world, allow the voice of the enemy to tell them things that aren't true, but they need to listen to the voice of God and be who God has called them to be and begin a relationship with God and grow in that relationship. So had opportunities to do that. While I was working at Windy Gap is where I met Becky. We fell in love and dated for a couple of years, and as I finished Georgia Tech and she finished at Clemson, we got married. And oftentimes people say, well, if you've been in ministry your whole life, you don't really know what it's like to have a real job. Well, I worked a real job for my first year out of college. I was in sales out of Greenville and in the construction business and had sales quotas I had to meet and all that. But my heart was ministry, and God opened a door for me to go into ministry down in Florida. So Becky and I moved to Florida, and tremendous success with the ministry down there. I loved what I was doing, but had some issues in our marriage that I wasn't real sure how to deal with, so I dealt with them the same way I had dealt with my dad. I tended to stay real busy with ministry, which made the ministry better, and everybody's patting me on the back going, great ministry, Mark, but my marriage was really struggling, and I just kept running away from that because I didn't know how to deal with it. And finally, some people with some wisdom around me, some people who were loving on me and Becky said, maybe you need to step out of ministry. So we did. We took a break from ministry. I went back and worked with a company in Greenville, but still my heart was ministry, and so I was just praying for the Lord to show me where He would want me to go next. So here I am wanting to be in ministry, and God, again, in His sovereignty, opened doors for me and Becky to move to Florence, and eventually I ended up being involved as the youth pastor at Trinity Church here in town. For about 10 years, I worked with the youth ministry there. And again, my heart was helping young people see that it's a relationship with God, and out of that relationship with God, what He wants you to do that's important. And so I had a great time in ministry there. God chose to close that door and open a different door. So in 2002, I left staff at Trinity Church and began attending Sandhurst, and moved into a job with the solicitor's office. And I work with teenagers who have criminal charges and substance abuse problems. So I run the juvenile drug court program for the 12th Judicial Circuit. That's my full-time job, and it's a great opportunity to minister not only to those young people and their families, but I get to be around judges and law enforcement officers and legislators and school superintendents and principals, all different kinds of people every day that I get to spill Jesus on. As I'm filled up with Jesus, hopefully I'm spilling Jesus on those people. And in terms of direct ministry to kids, God has opened a door. Becky and I have been involved with helping Young Life get started in Florence, and it's been here since the late 90s, but these last 2 years, God has opened a door for me to step into the middle school ministry of Young Life, which is called Wildlife. Wildlife is the middle school ministry through Young Life, and Becky and I have been involved with helping Young Life get started here in Florence for the last number of years. And And just these last couple of years, I've been the team leader for wildlife here in Florence and work with some adults and high school students as we work with a big old group of middle school kids, loving on them. We meet every other Tuesday night at someone's home and have a great time just being together, but also talking about who is this person, Jesus, and what does it mean to have a relationship with Him. And I would say those lessons aren't just for teenagers, they're for all of us. Well, that gives you a little look at the adventure that is my life and my relationship with God. You know, to love God and to love others, what a great calling we have in life. And to make sure that the voice we're listening to, that we check that voice and make sure that it's the voice of God we're listening to and not the voice of the enemy. Because as we talked about it, the enemy, even some things he's telling us are good things, but they're things that are pulling us away from what God is calling us to. So make sure we hear the voice that, we check that voice and know that that's the voice of God we're listening to. And for me, as I live out each day, loving my wife, loving my kids, working with young people that God has given me the opportunity, and even as I just go through every day, whether it's a checkout person or a waitress or whoever it may be, that as I go through the day, I'm spilling the Jesus that's in me on the people around me. So my encouragement to you, love God, love others, and allow the Jesus in you to spill out on the people around you.